Meeting for May Transportation Advisory Committee will come to order, please. Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Yep, Mr. Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Atkinson.
Here.
Mr. LaSalle.
Here.
Mr. Lyman.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. McEnroth.
Here.
Mr. Jessic is not here. Mr. Tong.
Here.
And Mr. West.
Here.
Next item is approval of the minutes. Is there any changes or anybody wants to make? Any discussion of the minutes? Anything of might come up? Hearing none, I will say that the minutes are approved. Agenda analysis. Does anybody want to make any changes in the agenda, move anything, say anything? This is going fast.
I'll have one small addition to the staff report. It gets back to last month's meeting where you had asked for a couple things from us. So one small addition there.
Then just throw it in when we go by.
Will do.
Hearing none, we'll move on. Citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments? There are two in the audience.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad to see you. New business, discussion items. One of the ones here is the introduction of the TAC members. And Vance, would you introduce them, please?
Absolutely. Introducing Mr. Tim West, correct? Congratulations, and thank you very much for volunteering your time to be on this committee.
You bet.
Ben Simmons, again, same, thank you very much, sir, for volunteering to be on the committee, and we're looking forward to working with you folks.
We certainly do appreciate the fact that you're here, and we certainly look forward to working with you. Kanema neighborhood proposed improvements. I believe that's probably one of you two.
Yep, that's me. So this is just an update on something that's been in front of the TAC a couple of times before. It's the MCT, I believe it stands for the McLaughlin-Kanema Trail. And what's come out of that is I'm sure you all have the stuff in front of you with the pavement markers, and we're going to go to is it
It's part of the packet.
somewhere in there?
It's
You'll
part of the
have
agenda.
you'll have something that looks like this.
It's the 20-mile-an-hour pilot program
Yes.
that we're doing in Kanema.
Yeah. So that just shows kind of what's come from all of the different meetings and everything that we've gone through. But what's going to happen in Kanema is the whole Kanema, upper Kanema, is going to become a 20-mile-an-hour zone. So there'll be signs on Apperson, Jerome, Miller, and Hedges as you come in, and then there'll be clear up on 5th as you come off of South End. And there'll be the markings on the ground that look like this little guy right here. That'll be a thermoplastic marking on the ground. And those are you can kind of see where it says PM. Every 150, 200 feet, you'll have a marker. But it's just to create a family-friendly route between Kanema Neighborhood Children's Park and the old Kanema Park. That was the idea was to have that route, but the neighborhood really liked the idea, and there was a lot of support to make the whole neighborhood, because there's that stairs that go down from 4th to 3rd. So that's just kind of, I just wanted to put this in front of you guys so you could see what the final product is going to be, what it's going to look like. I think the biggest change is there's going to be a 3-way stop at Ganong and 3rd, which now is a free-flowing intersection. It's just due to there's the house on the corner of Ganong and 3rd is right on the corner, and it creates a sightline distance problem. And so that's going to be kind of the biggest change to it. There's some channelizing you'll see at 4th and Miller and 3rd and Hedges and 3rd and Ganong. That's just all thermoplastic marking on the ground. It's just kind of to channelize traffic and slow them down at the intersections. It's mainly what that's for. Kind of give you a
There won't
timeline.
actually be any, like curb or anything, it's just
It's
markings.
just all markings, yep.
Is the design of the markings finalized, or is there, I have a suggestion if it isn't final?
I don't think it's completely 100% final. I think we could move stuff around if we absolutely needed to, but it's pretty final. We've put this in front of the,
The thing I was going to ask about is the bike sign. It has basically a racing type of bike on the symbol. And on like Portland's Neighbor Greenly system, they use a more upright cyclist that looks like they're comfortably like sitting up straight instead of bending over. So I don't know if that can be changed, like the bike symbol, to make it look more like a family friendly instead of a racing cyclist.
so that's not going to be able to be changed.
Okay.
Not in this. I've already ordered about 20 of the symbols.
Got it.
So I can't change it here, but that's something we could think about because this is the pilot project for the 25 mile or the 20 mile an hour family friendly zones. So it's something good to think about on the next one.
Okay, no worries.
When you're got it all finished, I'm assuming it'll be during the summer, and would you kind of send us out an email so we can kind of wander over and
Yep.
look at it and appreciate your fine work?
Yeah, you bet. And I also put the summer construction schedule in the package so that you can see we've got quite a bit of work going in Kenema this year. We're going to do a slurry seal on 4th Street, or 4th Avenue, I mean. That's going to be on June 24th to the 27th. I don't know the exact day. That's just when the contractor is going to be in town. And then 3rd Avenue is going to get rebuilt and repaved. So we'll kind of have to work
After that,
yeah, kind of depends on when. It'll be after the slurry, but maybe before the paving. We can put the signs in and start the project and maybe finish it after the paving, the thermoplastic on 3rd Avenue. But we'll just have to see how that paving project lines up for this summer.
I have a sidebar kind of a question. Would it be possible to work with Clackamas County about getting some sort of a on-pavement notification of the connection of 5th Avenue and South End Road, where coming out of Kenema, and you could cross South End Road and go on up to Center Street if you were daring? Would it be possible to get some sort of a on pavement kind of a marking there? Because when you come down the hill or go up the hill, that intersection, even though it's signed appropriately, is not apparent to you.
So are you thinking on, put the marking on South End itself?
Yes.
So that when you're going uphill
Or down,
or down?
you're kind of notified that there is an intersection coming up.
Is there an intersection sign?
There is an intersection sign there, the regulation one, but it's awful easy to ignore when you're whipping down that hill, or going up it for that matter.
Henry, do you have a vision or a concept of what that marking should say or be?
It- Sort of like crossing ahead or X-Peds or, something of that ilk. Just something to say, this is not an ordinary spot. There it is. That it's,
Yeah.
because I know I've gone down that hill and I've almost been in the intersection before I said, oh yeah, there's an intersection here.
Yeah.
Well, between Jason and I, we'd be happy to reach out to the County Transportation, run it by them, since it is their road and they would be on the hook to install, and a bigger thing would be maintain. It would be up to them, as you well know, but we'd be more than happy to run it by them.
Yeah, that's all I can say is that, because I can also see them saying, that's not standard, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, there might be some MUTCD requirements that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking of their safety program that they've got instituted for 0 accidents or whatever it is too. Maybe being able to tie it into that.
Okay.
There's a flashing sign on Holcomb Boulevard as you're coming downhill, just before you get to the bottom of the hill, to those S-curves down there, that the side of it is flashing lights. I don't remember what it says now. Do you remember, John?
It,
I think it says slow down.
it,
isn't
it just,
It's a hard right.
yeah.
Anyway,
Orange, yeah.
that's something in the area I think that maybe he would be.
We might be able to put like an intersection sign with,
With the flashers around it. Anything to sort of make you understand that there's,
I don't remember what that sign cost. I want to think that it was a couple of $1,000s though, because it has a radar in it to
On
catch.
Holcomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe it says slow down, and I think you're right, it's radar triggered.
yeah, there's another one on South End Road before you get out onto the highway, and it's quiet until you get up close to it, and then it goes whoosh. So, yeah, there's obviously there's costs and whatnot, but if we don't ask the question, we won't even get an answer.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
Another thing I was just thinking about too, I'll be interested to see if the county has any crash data for south end of that intersection, see what that looks like.
I don't think it's used very much. And that's more of a problem because you don't expect to see anybody there. So
Right.
when you do see somebody there, it's a surprise.
That's Fifth and Sunset.
I have a question for general maintenance. Do you cost the pavement markings you're going to put in here, and then do you cost out how often it's required to bring them up to date? So when they get worn out, is that something you have to redo annually or biannually? So, keeping that, once you put that down, then the expectation is it's always going to be there, and you've got that maintenance requirement ongoing, so.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know. That's why we're putting them in thermoplastic. If we painted it, we'd have to go in and do it every year. So thermoplastic, of course, costs more upfront. But the amount of traffic in the neighborhood, those thermoplastic, I think we're going to get at least 5 years out of them. And maybe more than that, maybe as much as like 7 years out of them. It just depends on if,
Yeah,
What's the maintenance, the frequency of paving or of redoing the pavement or something in those areas?
so we're redoing Third Avenue. And then we probably won't do anything on Third Avenue for a long time, maybe 10 or 15 years, we might put a slurry on it.
The other streets?
Fourth Avenue, with putting a slurry on it right now, I would say 8 to 10 years, we put another slurry on it. So I'm hoping about the time that thermoplastic wears out, we'll put another slurry on it and put the new thermoplastic on it.
The work he's doing in Kanema is the first work I remember being done since 1992.
Yeah, I've been here since 2012 and we've done nothing in Kanema, so
I'm glad to see something being done there.
yeah, it needs it.
So, is there anything more?
I have a quick question about number 5 on the capital improvement projects. Does that include connection to CCC or is it just the extension?
We don't have that right in front of us, Ray.
Is it in there?
We might, hang tight.
It's a blue line, south CCC.
You are skipping ahead a little bit, I think, but I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe I am. I don't know.
Well, you skipped up to that
No,
project.
he's looking at the map, Henry.
Yeah.
I think from the map,
there we
aren't
go.
we? Okay.
The blue line, oh, that's the Myers Road extension.
Does that include connection to, because there's a new entrance to campus. Is that part of that project or is that separate?
Yes, yeah. There's an entrance into CCC off of Myers extension.
Okay.
Yep.
So does that move us to the approval US bike ped? What, under 5B down here under the signs
I
for
think that's the
Kanema?
legend, isn't it? Isn't that the thermoplastic legend, the approval? USDB?
Oh, yeah, that's
Those are
just,
attachments.
Oh,
that's
okay.
just what it's called.
Just attachments.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just I gave them the approval that's what they called it.
Then Ray is right. We are on the summer construction projects. And I'm behind.
We're talking about
So I just put that on there as an attachment, just to show what we were going to do in Kanema in conjunction with the 20 mile an hour
Okay.
program.
So moving on to our overall construction projects. Anything of major interests such as rebuilding a railroad crossing that nobody knew about?
I can speak a little bit on that. Yes, so Union Pacific Railroad is in town redoing crossings and a lot of the wooden ties. When they initially pulled their permit, as I understand, it was roughly a 3-day work window. So they mobilized into town. They're staging down in the Cove area because that's about the only place we had. Just some flat rock surface that they can't hurt and wasn't being used. Their intent, again, was to get in town, do these crossings, get out of town, with the closure on Singer being about 3 days. The work would be longer, but it would be night work, so very low impacts to our motoring public. Yesterday, I spoke with a gentleman from the railroad and said, so why are you guys still having this closed? They had to reapply for their permit. They told me that the same day they mobilized into town, they had a locomotive or a car catch fire in the region. So they had to pull this crew that was redoing the crossings and the ties to go mitigate that issue. So they were delayed at least 2, maybe 3 days. And I don't know that they've really got the ball rolling efficiently, frankly. John has been in conversation with the railroad, as have I. I believe their intent is to open up Singer on Thursday. So that's where we're at with that. It is unfortunate for all the citizens that use Singer Road, because the ADT on Singer Road is 13,353. So there's a lot of folks.
And most of them are going by my house now.
They probably are, Henry. So that's the status of the railroad and Singer Road and the closure. They also currently have the crossing on 11th, which I believe 11th, vehicles don't cross there, but there are PEDs that use that quite a bit. And I overheard John talking with the railroad that, hey, we need to get that fixed right away. I think they're working on that tonight.
So Vance, the improvements they're making on 10th Street, will they then provide for creating a quiet zone down the line here a little bit?
That's a good question. Again, the conversation I heard John having with the railroad, John asked that question. And I don't know that he got a definitive answer, John, other than the gentleman from the railroad, and again, I'm sorry I was not speaking with him, so I don't know exactly who it was, said that the crossing they're doing, the answer is yes, it should be fine for the quiet zone. What would need to be changed as part of the quiet zone is the signal arms, signage, things of that nature. So he frankly, he was a bit wishy-washy on that. I think we're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to have to redo these crossings when and if we are successful with getting the quiet zone through town.
Thanks.
Public Works report?
Oh, I have some questions on the streets.
Yes, sir.
So it looks like there's Leland Road. Is that going to get chip sealed or
Yes.
recoated?
Yep.
It's not going to be made wider or anything like that, just chip sealed?
Just a chip seal.
Okay. And then I heard there's going to be some work on Myers Road. And is that the $7 million blue line right there on this map?
I don't know about the $7 million. I don't know how much it was,
John
but
came in and was saying,
Extension.
oh,
Yes,
Yeah, it was.
There's a number 5 by it.
Myers
yeah.
Road Extension.
Yeah, I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
sir.
Yep. Wow, it's a short road for that amount of money.
Yeah.
I think they said they had utilities to deal with, extend there too. I don't know if that's part of that contract bid or not, but
I believe it is, sir.
Well, they've
yeah.
also got some wetlands there, so it all adds up.
The BPA tower has to be raised.
Yeah.
When there's some lane changes there, right turn lanes and north turn lanes, I think mentioned in that project too. So some additional lane extensions for turning movements.
All right, so it affects 213 too, then.
Yeah.
And another traffic signal at Myers and 213.
Oh, there's one there right now.
Or
Yeah,
replacement.
but it would have to be changed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Four-way instead of a three-way.
Yeah, sure.
very good.
Nobody's all have to wait longer.
Yeah.
And now can we go to the Public Works report?
All right, very good. I believe the first thing on there, you'll see is Molalla and Pearl intersection review. Several weeks ago, there was a fatality accident there involving a single vehicle and a pedestrian. We wanted to take a good look at that intersection and make sure that all of our assets are up to snuff there. I believe you all have a copy of a memorandum that Dana Webb, a project engineer and soon to be our new city engineer, developed. In their report, you'll find that our intersection does meet everything in the MUTCD. We didn't have any issues with vegetation obstructing anything. All the lights are functioning. The on-pavement markings are all in good shape. She did, with Jason and I, met her up there, and we did a good site visit. I think moving forward, there are some improvements that we might look into doing with the county's assistance. The county does our signal and pedestrian crossing work as far as any push-button activity. On Pearl, we noticed that if you hit the ped button on Pearl, it gives you an instant walk. Regardless of what the light is doing, you know, it doesn't really affect the light on Molalla. And, you know, we thought, you know, I think there could be some better timing with that because it kind of struck us that, you know, that is a bit odd. And our fear is it would give a pedestrian a false sense of security. They walk up, they hit the button, they have a walk, and off they go. The sight distance on that'd be the west side of Molalla on Pearl. There's two buildings in very close proximity to the roadway. So a pedestrian has to have use some caution when they utilize that crosswalk to make sure that they can see vehicles making, especially right-hand turning movements off Molalla, southbound onto Pearl. Again, there's a building in very close proximity. So we're gonna work with the county and see if we can adjust some of the timing on that crosswalk and see if we can integrate it with the signal that's there. But again, I thought it was worth noting, I believe we might have mentioned it at the last TAC meeting that this accident occurred. So again, Dana did a great job compiling the information that y'all have. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, to please review it.
I can think I might have a bit of a insight as to something similar almost got me down here at 5th and Washington. And basically what was going on was I was paying attention to a vehicle coming down the hill toward me. So I was looking to my left. A pedestrian was coming across the street and was entering on my right side where A, I wasn't expecting, and B, he didn't show up or anything. You know, nothing hiding him or anything. It just visually did not stand out. And with this intersection at Pearl, it's offset a little bit.
Correct.
And the crosswalk for this particular incident, the person was coming into the driver's field of vision from his right side.
From his left side.
From his left side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I thought he was making a left turn.
He was. He was on Pearl. He was making a left turning motion to go southbound Molalla.
So that would mean that the far side was offset to the right then.
The crosswalk?
The whole crosswalk, if you look at it.
So Pearl itself comes in at a bit of an obscure angle onto Molalla on that east side.
Yeah.
West side, Pearl comes in at basically 90-degree angle. I think it is mentioned in Dana's report, and the police actually confirmed this too. If you're on Pearl and you want to take a left southbound on Molalla, lots of vehicles, the A-pillar that comes down blocks a certain amount of your vision.
Right.
And I've driven it a couple times. Dana drove it, others have. And because Pearl comes in at a bit of an odd angle, in a lot of vehicles, that A-pillar, if somebody is standing at the crosswalk, it blocks them. So it's still incumbent on the driver to move their body and be able to look around. But we're thinking that was a big contributing factor. The young man wasn't speeding,
Be coming from here.
not impaired,
Down this way.
not distracted, just simply lost the pedestrian in his field of vision.
Yep.
It
And
would
most
block for a
unfortunate.
person from
Yeah.
moving from here, pedestrian.
How about ODOT value pricing?
Alrighty.
I was going to add one thing just before we move on. The leading pedestrian interval, I see a note about evaluation of that. Is that still being done with the county, at least in the possible modifications section of the document?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the first part, sir.
The leading pedestrian interval, it looks like you're looking at evaluating that for crossings of Malala Avenue. Is that
Yes.
still being done with the county?
Yes, yeah. I don't believe any work has happened as of yet with that, but absolutely that's the intent. Not only, as I mentioned, looking at the timing and the triggering of the crosswalk for Pearl, but also reevaluating Malala. We did receive documents. We reached out to the county and had them provide all their documentation on the signal timing, maintenance, everything that the county does for us on that signal. And they provided that. The signal, frankly, functions fine. The timing is within parameters, but there might be some adjustments that can be made.
And when you say the timing, is that for motorists or for pedestrians or both?
Both.
Okay.
Probably the main focus is for pedestrians.
Okay. The reason why I'm focused so much on LPI is because in downtown Portland, they have LPIs all over the place, and they help with preventing motorists from turning when, hitting a pedestrian, because it allows pedestrians to be out in traffic and visible. And when a lot of places in suburban areas don't have that, so pedestrians basically coming in at the same time the motorist is turning, and that's one thing I think is something that can be done. Yeah.
Right.
What's an LPI?
The leading pedestrian interval, I use the acronym, sorry. Leading pedestrian interval is what it's called.
Like gives the pedestrian a head start over the vehicle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. 3 to 7 seconds. Yeah.
So this pedestrian was standing right at the corner of the pink building right there.
I must admit, sir, I don't recall the color of the building. It is.
So
would
it's
be
the old grill restaurant.
Wild West Emporium
Yeah.
now.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's.
Yeah,
that sounds correct.
This is driver error, and really, it's one of my pet peeves, having drivers hit pedestrians or bikers and get their hand slapped, not even with a ticket. So a better sign of saying our laws will be enforced would be a bigger deterrent than anything else on here. So this is a driver error, and he walked away from this, after seeing the police, and the police let him walk. But no, it's something that there is no easy answer. Your signage is great right here, and this is a driver error. So.
I just want to add to this discussion, I don't know if this is a good time to talk about this, but the crash versus accident discussion, how do you refer to these instances? Because a lot of times in America, we refer to, car crashes as accidents because people assume it's just accident. Well, if it can be prevented, then it's not an accident. It's a crash, at least from a lot of people in my field of study. We try to change that language so we can say, how can we improve on things instead of calling it an accident? So just want to throw it out there that if we can change our language, how we refer to these things, it'd be helpful as well.
Thanks, Ray. Duly noted. Thank you. Okay. Folks, on this ODOT value pricing webpage, until right before the meeting, I thought Mr. Lewis was going to be talking about this. In just a couple minutes before the meeting, on your computers, really what he wanted to share with you was the link that you can go to look at this ODOT value pricing, and it's in regards to the tolling that was brought up at the last TAC meeting. John did mention that ODOT was required to do a study about tolling by the federal government to receive their, at least a portion of their funds to do the 205 widening project. That's unfortunately really all I know about this subject. And even John was more, he just wanted to get this link in front of you folks so that you could, peruse through it. I don't know if it's going to answer any questions anybody might have, but there is some pretty good information on that link. Okay? So again, my apologies for not being more informed on that particular topic, but I blame John Lewis. I'm just kidding. I can't blame him, can I? And as I mentioned, Henry, just a couple quick things. One of the things that you had asked for at the last TAC meeting when we were talking about tolling, the ramifications of the Willamette Falls Legacy Project and what impacts that would have in town. One of the things you asked for was some traffic counts in the downtown area. I do have those if you would like them.
Oh, I would.
Okay. These are right off of our GIS system. They are current as of 2017. That is the most current traffic counts that we have. And it's, again, as you'll see, I targeted, Main Street and the core downtown area because it seemed like that's what we were talking about. So there's some interesting numbers there, especially on Main Street, where some of the traffic counts go up pretty dramatically in a 1 or 2 block area.
Just out of curiosity, has anybody actually gone out during, say, 3 or 4 o'clock and just kind of stood on the corner and watched the cars go by?
Which corner, Henry?
Well, I'm thinking about.
Some of us don't have that sort of time.
Yeah, but it's most instructive. For example, I've been up on the promenade watching the bridge along about 3:30. And today in this traffic conditions we have today, traffic stacks up today back to Willamette View Drive where it connects up to 43 today. With some of the changes that, could happen, as was discussed last time, that could get markedly worse. And also,
But that traffic circle may have some,
it
alter
may,
that.
it may, but basically, where it looks to me like a bunch of people are getting off the freeway, crossing the old bridge, taking Main Street to 99 and heading south.
Yeah.
And the other batch are coming across the bridge, taking Railroad North, 10th Street, Singer up the hill. And if there was people crossing the Abernathy Bridge and getting onto McLaughlin on the Oregon City side, why would they not get off earlier and cross the old bridge and do much the same as what they're doing?
I think they probably would.
Yeah, and that was sort of where I think I was headed with it. Most of that was saying we need to kind of think about that on a long-term basis.
Right. Yeah.
Question I had when I was reading through the ODOT value pricing was that it didn't look like there was a lot of participation from Oregon City or West Lynn in that particular study, which seemed kind of odd to me that the fact that it's going to affect these, if they're talking about putting the tolling in for the Abernathy Bridge, I'm coming in new. Was there a particular reason why there was a lack of participation from the cities being affected probably the most by it?
Ben, I'm not sure. I don't have an answer for you on that. My only guess, and this is a guess, is that maybe ODOT didn't reach out to the city of Oregon City or West Lynn to provide input. But I don't know the reason for that.
Okay.
They did have meetings here on that. I went to 1 or 2 of them, shared my opinion, which was negative, of course. But those meetings were before they had selected the the sections that they were going to deal with. Those meetings were still on the concept of anywhere, anytime, how to do it. Not on, it shall be the bridge.
Okay.
And
So that was something
I
they
think-
developed later in the process, was the specific
Right,
points?
Right.
Okay.
And frankly, I think they developed it based upon input from the various transportation people who wanted to deal with the choke points on the freeway, places where people had to go through in order to raise funds.
Also, I believe according to the link that's in the agenda, the people who voted on it were the Oregon Transportation Commission, which is a statewide commission, so it's not just Oregon City or West Linn. I don't know how many people from this area are on that commission, but I think they're the ones who voted on it.
Only one I saw that was fairly local was Paul Salvis from Clackamas.
So what's the, and I wasn't here at the last meeting, I was at APWA conference in Bend, but basically they're moving with the tolling on 205? Or?
No. It's still very much in the discussion period. And I think tolling, if it were to ever occur, is quite a ways out. John spoke to me a little bit about that today. And I don't think, do we need to think about this tolling and be concerned about it? Yes. However, it's not coming anytime soon.
No.
A large part of the discussion last month was about the 205 widening and getting pedestrian bike access across the Abernathy Bridge. That was a huge part of it last month.
And this is sort of a fallout from that discussion.
Right.
And did I hear you say that a requirement to the widening project was them doing the research on this?
Yeah,
To
that's
get
what,
funding?
that's
So
what
it
John
might have been an
mentioned.
exercise for no apparent actual reason?
And there was a reason.
Okay.
They want to fund the widening out of that money.
Okay. But it sounds like it was a step they had to take in order to get to the funding,
Yeah.
not that they were really pushing
Yes.
for the tolling to actually come to fruition.
And the state legislature told them to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Real quick, we had talked about National Night Out last month. There's a Captain Claire with Oregon City PD. He was on vacation. He's recently back from vacation. I'm hoping later on this week I'll be able to connect with him and we'll put our heads together on basically public works operations, teaming up with the police department to have the bike safety themed displays and things like that down at end of the Oregon Trail. So again, no real news to report on that other than I need to connect with Captain Claire with the PD and iron out just exactly how much real estate we're going to have. Again, as I mentioned last month, I can secure that 8-foot wide, 20-foot long covered trailer that the city of Tigard has that is filled with bicycles and helmets and traffic control devices, things like that. There is one thing I can add to that. Traffic Safety Supply is a local vendor for traffic signs, materials, thermoplastic markings, and they have a display unit of an RRFB, rapid rectangular flashing beacon, that they will loan us for this National Night Out if we so choose. So that's kind of a cool thing also.
That would be handy.
It would be. And as I mentioned last month, Henry, we just need some TAC members to volunteer to come down there to help the kids get through the crosswalk
Well,
and ride the bikes.
I hate to say this, but I will point out that I was at the one last year.
Were you?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
What date is that?
August 6th, I believe.
It's in the news and thing that got sent out a week or two ago, but
Yep.
I think it's the 6th. I'm not, it's a Tuesday night, as I remember.
Correct. So I'm pretty confident at the next staff meeting I'll have some good information regarding National Night Out for you guys.
As a former chair and speaking in frustration, I would appreciate if the members start looking at that date to be able to volunteer. It's
It would
really,
be-
really hard to get people to volunteer for those things. Thank you.
And thank you for bringing that up.
Gentlemen, that's all I have.
Okay. I have one thing that I noted, and there's no answer to it right now, but I'm going to bring it up for thought. I took the Moelle Avenue improvement project survey that the city is pushing right now. And in that, they mentioned a concrete divider from Beaver Creek south almost to Claremont as being a potential installation in order to provide smoother traffic flow. Thinking about it, I think that that's going to create more problems than it's going to solve, because thinking about it, everybody in the apartment complex is going to be prevented from going downtown without making a tremendous detour. There's no side streets that connect up to head back to town, so the only way they're going to be able to get out of that is to go south of Molalla someplace. And
Or they
like,
could exit out onto Claremont.
I'm not sure about the interior configuration.
Yeah, they can.
Okay, so that's a possibility then. The other one is that South Ridge Shopping Center itself is not laid out to allow that south entrance to be a safe entrance for all the traffic off of Molalla. Because that's where you have people stopping for Goodwill to drop their stuff off for Goodwill, and it'll pile up 2 or 3 cars. There are people who just stop in there, let their spouse go shopping and pick them up on the curb.
Mightn't that be solved, since it's my understanding Goodwill's not going to be there much longer?
Well, something will replace it,
Probably not something where people are dropping things off.
but it's still a tremendous place where it's not easy to get through. You know, it just needs to be evaluated as to whether or not we are creating problems off the project that weren't really bad until we did the project. That's the point,
So
regardless of,
to go south on Molalla, exiting from the shopping center,
would be
you'd have to go around the back of Goodwill to Claremont.
Claremont, or you go out on Beaver Creek.
Uh-huh.
Which I think technically you're supposed to do that now.
No,
No, from the coffee shop, okay?
Right.
It says there no left turn,
Yeah.
but at Goodwill, there is
Okay.
no.
there used to be an island there and they took it out.
It could, I think there's well, if there's an island there, the drivers have to go someplace else. They can't negotiate that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, I think some additional thought needs to go into it before we make it real.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good, Henry. I've notated what you were just inquiring about, so I'll be more than happy to follow up with John and Dana Webb as project engineer on that. Yep.
I mean, I'm not concerned whether or not it happens. I'm concerned whether or not we're creating a problem. So if you say it's not going to be a problem later on, it's been brought to the attention, it's been looked at, it's been evaluated.
I just want to add one point to this discussion. From a cyclist viewpoint, when I bike north on Molalla Avenue, there's a lot of people turning left into that shopping center, and they don't look for me because they don't expect to see cyclists using Molalla Avenue. So I think according to when I went to a meeting about this project, they were saying one reason why I want to add that is to reduce, turning conflicts between pedestrians, cyclists, and motorists in that area. And also, I want to understand when I read that plan that concrete median is not as long as what you may be thinking. It looks like it's a short area. So I'm not sure if it's as long as what you're saying it is. From what I read, when I read it, it looked like it was a short area. So,
Just blocking by the coffee shop?
yeah, exactly. I think it's just that one area that is blocking a turn. I don't think it's a whole. I don't think it's all from Beaver Creek to Clear Way. I think it's just a short section.
I got the impression too, of just past the combined apartment and South Ridge entrance there. And I'm just saying that we could be creating a worse problem than we're solving.
Good. Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with the project engineer on that, Henry.
Anything else? Sure. Future agenda items? Anything for future?
I have one.
Speak.
We spoke about it briefly, but the danger to pedestrians crossing 7th. Well, let me back up a little bit. We're approaching the season for visitors. And some people probably take the elevator up to this level and then want to go over to the McLaughlin House. Mm-hmm. From the street crossing Singer Hill Road there, with that heavy traffic and coming around the corner and whatnot, it was kind of a dangerous place for pedestrians to cross Singer Hill Road or 7th, whichever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. And there's no direction to the tunnel either.
Yeah, well, my thought, maybe it was somebody else's thought, but I'll take credit for it, is to put up some kind of a sign there, no pedestrian crossing, and direct the pedestrians, which would be
To Center Street?
east to Center Street with a crosswalk on Center. One of our former members, he brought it up, I think at a city commission meeting, where he had observed a family, a couple and their children, 2 or 3 children, trying to cross at that location, and almost got hit by cars because of the danger there.
But you almost want to cross at the corner, not at Center Street, because you can see the cars coming up the hill and down the hill, whereas at Center Street, you can only see them coming down the hill.
And Center Street has that stupid dancing couple on the corner that I always think are pedestrians.
Especially when somebody puts a hat on them.
Yeah. And the scarf around the neck.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this area we're all talking about is very difficult, as you folks well know, because, you've got Singer Hill that takes that hard turn. You've got people coming up from the elevator, pedestrians that may not know that they can continue down Singer on the sidewalk, turn left down the stairs and go under the tunnel. If anything, when I'm just sort of brainstorming about this, I think potentially some better signage from people coming up from the elevator to direct them to the tunnel would be the safest and probably the most appropriate signage that we can put up there.
Non-handicapped.
Right about here.
Oh, okay.
That is true. It's not ADA, but
I've never used that tunnel. I didn't know it was there.
for folks with disabilities, they can cross High Street right there before it makes the sharp curve onto Singer and make their way down the sidewalk along City Hall right there and make their way up. Yes, it's a long way around, but I don't really see any other way to get.
Is anybody, do you know if anybody's watching the TV camera that's in the tunnel?
We are now because we just upgraded the DVR portion of it.
So those
So you can tell when there's people sleeping there.
TV cameras in the tunnels are fake.
Were you talking the tunnels or the elevator?
The tunnel.
Oh, the tunnel?
The tunnel under
Don't
Singer
tell-
Hill.
Don't let this out, but those are just for ornamental purposes only.
Yes.
But they did drastically cut down on the graffiti and vandalism.
Yeah, we had a bad problem in there. We put the fake cameras up, put the sign up, warning people they were being.
Now we're broadcasting.
Yeah.
If they're watching this,
There's only
probably not out
people
doing
watching.
Oops, advance.
they're faking the tunnel.
I'm sorry, Henny, I thought you mentioned the elevator. So we did just, we do have working cameras in the elevator. And we just upgraded that system.
Every once in a while, I do notice there's some people taking refuge from the nighttime rain down there.
Yep.
Regarding other topics, I'm not sure if next month or another month about presenting Clackamas County the safety action plan, I think it's called. I'm not sure when John was going to present, but I know you want to postpone it. So I just want to bring it up again.
Okay, I've not heard Ray. I'm not sure what John's thought is on that.
Okay.
Next month, tentatively, we were going to present, we're going to have Kelly Reed and the consultant that is helping with the Transportation Demand Management Group. We're going to present to you folks. And did Kelly have something else also?
No, John's going to do a 5-year PLAN.
Gotcha. Kim just mentioned it would be a presentation by Kelly Reed on the TDM group, and then John was going to do a more in-depth 5-year PMUF plan update for you folks.
Just one more thing. Since we skipped July and August, and next month will have to be a strong action plan put together for participation in the National Night Out in August. So just,
Yes.
You mean because normally we don't meet in July and August?
Henry's gonna change that.
That's all I have in Public Works.
Anybody has anything else? Going once, going twice? We're adjourned.